is iRadio News.
Hello, this is iRadio 1 o'clock news. First, here are the headlines. 3 people have died in Liria Pariam of Central Equatoria State after a trench they were digging collapsed on them. The government has acquired a consignment of military equipment for the graduation of the necessary unified forces. And the United States government has renewed appeal to the government of South Sudan to conduct credible investigations and hold to account killers of journalist Christopher Allen. This is stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Lasuba Memo, and now the news in detail. 3 people have died in Liria Payamo Central Equatoria State after a trench they were digging collapsed on them. The area deputy director, Christopher Sebit Arcangelo, confirmed the incident to iRadio this morning. The dugout is reportedly meant for installation of an internet cable. The deceased youths are identified as Gino Samuel Okilong, Emmanuel Biagio Sarvalo, and Sebit John Giuliano. According to Arcangelo, the incident caused tension in the area, but he managed to calm the situation.
Yesterday, at exactly 9 a.m., a hole collapsed. That is a hole for installing internet pipeline. It collapsed, killing 3 youth. They are workers. They are workers on the digging the hole for installing internet pipeline. Yesterday, of course, there was a high tension because of the death. Almost everybody here was traumatized, including me, the deputy director of the Payama was also traumatized. But yesterday, I read messages of calm. I asked people to calm down as this is just an incident.
Arcangelo described the incident as the first of its kind. The government has acquired a consignment of military equipment for the graduation of the necessary unified forces. A Sudanese plane carrying uniforms for various military units, including the National Security, Civil Defense, Wildlife, and Police Service, landed today at Juba Airport. The shipment received by the Joint Transitional Security Committee contains items like belts, caps, boots, and socks. SSPDF spokesperson Major General Lulrai says the uniforms will be delivered to Gorom, Rajaf, Rombur, and Lologo training centers. He spoke to iRadio this morning.
Now it was actually received this morning at Juba International Airport. Very good consignment, very important ones that we have been waiting for. I'm glad to inform the necessary unified forces, the people of South Sudan and the region that this morning uniforms for other organized forces, namely civil defense, wildlife service, prison service, and some amusing aspects of police uniform were delivered this morning. Of course, the uniform is brought according to the parade at the respective training centers. Yeah, they will start with the forces in Greater Equatoria, the special forces in and around Juba, then it will continue like that.
When asked by iRadio about the areas of deployment of the forces after graduation, General Lul said,
What is happening is that the JDP is a body that is responsible for exercising command and control over the forces. As soon as they are graduated, the next step is for them to be redeployed. And JDP has come up with a redeployment plan for the forces that would have been graduated. What we will do, redeployment will be based on the prevailing security situation in the country. Most parts of the country are having insecurity. So the deployment will be done based on that. Areas that are hotspot areas that are having a lot of insecurity, this is where our forces are going to be directed to so that they stabilize the security situation.
About 53,000 forces are expected to graduate at the end of this month from the training camps. They include the Army, Police, and National Security, among others. President Salva Kiir has confirmed the appointment of Joni Ohisa Damian as the new governor of the central bank. In a presidential decree read on the state-owned SSBC last evening, Kiir appointed Damian, who had acted as the governor after his former boss was sacked early this month. Joni Ohisa Damian was the first deputy governor in charge of policy and banking in the Bank of South Sudan since April 30th, 2021. Before his appointment, he was the Director General for Currency and Banking Operations in the Bank of South Sudan from May 17, 2019 to April 30th, 2021. Damian had also served as a Managing Director for the International Commercial Bank. He had also worked for the United States Agency for International Development in Sudan, Kenya, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. In a separate Republican decree, Kiir also relieved Central Bank's first deputy governor and appointed Equity Bank's managing director, Addis Ababa Otho, as the new first deputy governor. The firing of Moses Makur Deng and the appointment of the two officials came at a time the country's currency drastically weakens against the United States dollars, resulting in the skyrocketing of commodity prices. This is despite the regular auctioning of the hard currency by the central bank. You're listening to iRadio News. The United States has renewed appeal to the government of South Sudan to conduct credible investigations and hold to account killers of journalist Christopher Allen. Low Nelson reports.
Allen, a British-American reporter, was shot dead on the front line while covering clashes between the former SPLA and SPLA-IO in August 26, 2017. He was killed on the side of the opposition armed group in the southern town of Kaya near the border with Uganda and close to the Democratic Republic of Congo. The government of South Sudan has not yet published an official investigation on the death of Allen. However, information gathered through journalistic investigations and the results of a private autopsy suggest that Mr. Allen was deliberately targeted by the soldiers even though he was not carrying arms. Today, which is the 5th anniversary of the death, the U.S. government in Juba repeated their call on the government to conduct an inquiry into his death and get justice to his family. The statement reads, and I quote, "The U.S. government renews its calls to the government of South Sudan to conduct a credible inquiry into Mr. Allen's death and to share its findings with Mr. Allen's family. It is our fervent hope that such an inquiry will help give Mr. Allen's family the closure they deserved by holding accountable those responsible for his death." End of quote. Following Allen's death, a government official reportedly termed the slain journalist a rebel and a criminal who entered the country illegally. He is not the only journalist to have been killed during the country's 7 years of civil war. At least 10 journalists were killed since 2014 amid hospitalities in the country. The Reporters Without Borders (RSF) have documented multiple instances of the authorities subjecting journalists, both local and foreign journalists, to harassment, arbitrary detention, surveillance, and attacks. For iRadio, I am Lo Nelson.
Thanks, Lo Nelson. Central Equatoria's Chamber of Commerce has requested Juba City Council and the Islamic Council to await a court verdict over their ownership claims of 200 shops at the Konyo market. Both institutions reportedly continue to collect ground rent fees from the shopkeepers and at times harass them. Last year, the City Council filed a case in court against the Islamic Council claiming the Konyo market shops belong to it. The State Chamber of Commerce call comes after the City Council issued an order banning the Islamic Council and other unauthorized entities from collecting money from the retailers. Robert Pitia, who is a Chamber of Commerce chairperson, told iRadio the conflicting parties should stop taking fees from the shops until the matter is resolved in court.
أنا بطالب إنه الطرفين ده كله خليه يمشي المحكمة والمحكمة خليه يعيد القضية ده عشان نمشي يعني محكمة يحكم على القضية ده عشان يشوف دين منو يلبس الأونرشيب المحل ده عشان علينا في النهاية يعني قدرنا موديل منو الأونرشيب المحل ده عشان إحنا ثاني ما يعني زي ده يعني تاجر هنا ما عرف إيش ماشي وده بيجي بيقول لي حق وده هنا بيقول لي حق وأنا دارين كل حاجة يكون واضح وبعدين يعني كده بريح الزول ده يعرف منه الزول اللي بديل ما هو ده منه ده اللي الحاجة اللي دايرينه كده الكلام ده يتم في المحكمة ومحكمة يكتب جواب إنه ده المحل فلان وفلان وفلان بس Kanta Juba City Council, Gulena in the Juba City Council, the Islamic Council, in the Islamic Council. Capital Fratel, Company Gundeta Fratel, Mr. Hagen.
Peter now urges the two bodies not to take the laws into their hands.
If I have a place, this place will be given to me by the government with the legal documents. So if there's any dispute, if they know that they have rights, there's institutions that can address their own rights. Let them not take the law in their hands, go in the market and intimidate and harassing and closing the shop. This is unacceptable. We are in civilized world. We are staying in a country where there's law and order. So if you have right, you go to court. The court will give you a right than to go and intimidate people on the ground, harassing them. This is wrong.
You're listening to iRadio News, and now to the international scene, powered by MTN.
Aku, hana magi safir, hana gifere su mahal tahwilu gurus, sante de malian gurus, gubal mujirime maligana, handira sul gurus fi wilayat. Italy sa wara zede, Italy sa vitab ta jere rasul gurus, gubudu gurus fi senta. Ite maruf gal MTN jibulen na momo fi belede. Aku, momo de biga sunu kaman. Besara na cave zado. Momo de MTN mobile money. Be MTN mobile money de ite bak de rafi su gurus taki de kulu video telephone take. Wita bak de rasul le ay zone alindo account MTN mobile money de fi ay zaman u fi ay waka dalta der. Ashanta wi fata hisab ma momo MTN mobile money lazim kelta dusu najma 200 selim wita bil go ke tirmin malumat al bisaidi ta kefita wi fata hisab taki.
This is iRadio 1 o'clock news, and here is James Atem with international news.
Welcome to the regional and international news with me, James Atem Kura. The World Health Organization Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus has lamented that he was unable to send money to his starving relatives in Ethiopia's Tigray region. Dr. Tedros, an ethnic Tigrayan, said the region has remained completely sealed off for 2 years since the beginning of the conflict and people were starving. The BBC quoted him as saying he had many relatives there and wanted to send them money, but he could not help his starving loved ones. Dr. Tedros adds he doesn't know whom among them is dead or alive. Elsewhere, the son of a Tanzanian state minister has been fined after he was accused of ramming cars last week and allegedly bragging about his father's influence. James Simbashawene, the son of George Simbashawene, was fined for the offenses of reckless driving, driving under the influence of alcohol, and driving an uninsured vehicle. He was fined a total of 250,000 Tanzanian shilling, an equivalent of 107 United States dollars. And finally, more than 33 million people have been affected by historic rains and floods that have swept Pakistan, the country's climate minister told Reuters. Since June, more than 900 people have died in monsoon rains and floods that continue to break weather records. Pakistan's climate ministers said the government was battling with climate-induced humanitarian disaster of epic proportions. And with that, we have come to the end of it. The regional and international news with me, James Satem. And now back to you, my colleague La Super Memo in the studio.
Thanks to James Atem. And now to the world of sports. Here is Moyo Felix.
Good afternoon. South Sudan will face Senegal in 2023 FIBA Africa Basketball World Cup qualification in the fourth window. Today in Tunisia, South Sudan is in Group F alongside Senegal, Tunisia, DR Congo, Cameroon, and Egypt. 16 African teams will compete in the FIBA Basketball World Cup 2023 African qualifiers through 5 tournament windows over 15 months. The qualifiers run from November 2021 to February 2023, with 5 African national teams earning a spot in the FIBA Basketball World Cup 2023 that's scheduled to take place from August 25th to September 10th, 2023 in Japan, Indonesia, and the Philippines. In football, Liverpool and Rangers will meet in the Champions League group stage, while Manchester City's Erling Haaland is set to face his old club Borussia Dortmund. Scottish champion Celtic are in the same group as holders Real Madrid and Chelsea vs AC Milan. Eintracht Frankfurt, who are making their group stage debut, are in the same group as Tottenham. Bayern Munich, Barcelona, and Inter Milan have been drawn in the same group. Matches will take place between 6 September and 2nd November. This season's Champions League final will take place at the Atatürk Olympic Stadium in Istanbul, Turkey on 10th June 2023. And finally, 2 women have filed lawsuits in the United States after accusing ex-heavyweight world champion George Foreman of sexual abuse in the 1970s. The women say they both met Foreman as children as their fathers were boxing associates of the now 73-year-old. One accused Foreman of grooming her when she was 8 and having sex with her when she was 15, her lawsuit says. The other accused him of sexually abusing and raping her when she was 15 and 16 years old. Foreman has denied the allegations. End of the sports news, and back to you, my colleague in the studio.
Thanks, Moyo Felix. You're listening to iRadio News, and to end this bulletin, here is a recap of the headlines. 3 people have died in Liria Payam of Central Equatorial State after a trench they were digging collapsed on them. The government has acquired a consignment of military equipment for the graduation of the necessary unified forces. And the United States government has renewed appeal to the government of South Sudan to conduct credible investigations and hold to account killers of journalist Christopher Allen. That's the end of iRadio Afternoon News. You can get these stories and updates by subscribing to iRadio News Alerts on your MTN South Sudan number. Call 700 or dial star 700 hash and follow the instructions. If there is a story or an event you'd like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 925 287 870. It's also a WhatsApp number. Follow us on Twitter at iRadio Juba. Like our Facebook page iRadio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at iRadio South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for the news in Arabic at 12:30. I'm Lasuba Memo. Thank you for listening.